Good afternoon. This is Roy from ZeeVee, and I'm your moderator today for our iSeries webinar. And we got a whole bunch of folks going to be at this webinar this afternoon. I really appreciate it. I know your days are busy, and you got a whole bunch of stuff you need to do. So to take a few minutes out of it to attend one of our webinars is greatly appreciated. We'll be starting in a couple of minutes, just letting some more folks join in. We've got about 3 minutes, so if you want to grab a quick cup of coffee, or for you folks that are in jolly old England, a cup of tea, we'll be with you in a bit. So hang in there, and we'll be right back to you. Thank you. So once again, folks, this is Roy Bertolato. I'm with ZeeVee. I'm the moderator on today's webinar. And we're going to get started in a couple minutes. We got a whole bunch of folks signing in. So I want to give them a chance to get settled. About a minute or so. We'll be right back to you. All right, let's get on with it. Once again, my name is Roy Bertolato. I'm the moderator. I'm the Midwestern District Regional Manager for ZeeVee here, and I'm moderating this webinar. And we're not going to take too much of your time today. We have a few guests with us. We have Melanie Roderick, who is our Director of Technical Support. She's going to handle part of it. And we have Rob Narzissi, who is from AMT, one of our distributors, who's going to be talking with you about some products towards the end of the webinar. So first of all, let's just talk about the agenda. We're going to talk about what qualifies ZeeVee to be in the business of video distribution. IP markets. Where does IP technology work? Where is it being used? Where should you be looking for sales? We're going to talk about iSeries setup using our Maestro system. Melanie will be discussing that. We're going to be discussing IP set-top boxes and middleware, and Rob will be handling that part of the webinar. And lastly, if you have any questions, normally we could just open the microphones, but there's such a huge group of folks on this webinar that would just become a mess. So if you have a question, just type it into the little box over there that says questions to the right of your screen, and we'll pick them up. Many times they're answered during the bulk of the webinar, but if not, we'll answer them at the end. So ZeeVee's qualifications, very quickly. We've spent the last 8 years disrupting the video industry. Back when the world went digital, 14 years ago now, the first digital modulators were $17,000 for one channel. And ZeeVee found a way to build a cost-effective, full-blown HD digital modulator about 8 years ago for about $2,500. And over the ensuing years, we've taken the quality up and the cost per channel down. And we're the leader in digital technology using digital modulation to send video. We're a highly innovative company, and we're a singular company. All we do is video distribution. I used to say all we do is digital modulation, but that's not the case anymore, as you'll see now that we have IP product. We're very innovative as far as how we get to the end result. We now have worldwide experience. We have an office in Denver, Colorado, an office in London, and we have our main office here in Boston. We sell product all over the world, Europe, Middle East, South Africa, New Zealand, Australia, Canada, United States, Mexico, on and on. So we have great experience, and we're experienced now in all aspects of modulation in DVB-T, DVB-C, our QAM system here in the United States. Everything is designed and built in the United States, and we're really proud of this fact. Back in our early days, we were buying product from Asia, and I'm not going to say it was a great experience because it really wasn't. We brought everything back to this country roughly 4 years ago, and it's just been fantastic. The quality went through the roof. Reliability is second to none. It's so much easier dealing right here in the States as far as manufacturing with our engineering staff and our production staff. It's just been great all the way around. So it's designed and built here in the United States. And because the reliability has just gone through the roof, that's allowed us to increase the warranty to 5 years. And we're an industry leader there where we warranty digital modulators for 5 years. So let's talk about the products very quickly. ZeeVee Pro is our standalone modulators. These are usually used in a low channel count, usually digital signage, a couple of channels. They're physically smaller than our rack mount HD 2000 products. And the reason we did that is many times they're used maybe in a dentist's office or a doctor's office for digital signage, and they just might not have some type of an equipment rack. So these can easily be placed on a shelf or screwed to a wall even, and they're very simple to use. They have an outboard power supply, and the advantage there is that should, God forbid, the unit get a power surge or hit by lightning, the power supply is the first thing to get damaged, and here it's a user replaceable power supply. Our HD Bridge 2000 product is our high channel count product. These units are used in head ends. They're used where you have lots of different channels being broadcast to just an enormous number of television sets. They're available with all different inputs: composite, component, HDMI, unencrypted, SDI. You've got it, we can send it. The outputs are all the same, so you can build a hybrid head end using component, composite, HDMI, SDI, and you can combine the outputs all together in your head end. And now we have IP product. This product was introduced over this past year, and it's the future. Video distribution is moving towards IP distribution. And we now have ZeeVee Pro and some of the HD Bridge 2000 product that also output IP. We'll be talking more about that, obviously, during this webinar. And last but not least, we have Zyper 4K. Zyper is our brand new product, and this is top of the line. I like to joke and say it's sort of like, you know, our original product is a coax product. It's a modulation type product. And it's sort of like Henry Ford came out with the Model T, and then for his next car, he came out with the Tesla. Zyper 4K is totally uncompressed, using fiber as the backbone. You can send the signal 35 miles with no degradation in quality, no latency. It's just an amazing product. And we're not going to spend much time or any time today talking about Zyper, but I'll let you know that we have a whole series of webinars coming up in the next couple of weeks that are going to just be on Zyper. So Zyper 4K is 4K uncompressed over fiber. just so you know. So let's talk about the iSeries, the family. It outputs simultaneously RF and IP MPEG-2 streaming. This is great because this gives you the ability to send a simple RF modulated signal over coax along with an IP stream. Now we put our emphasis on picture quality and not on bandwidth efficiency. It's MPEG-2, not MPEG-4. So the picture quality is second to none. Now down the road, ZeeVee will have some MPEG-4 product, which will allow you more bandwidth. But at this point in time, we went for the quality rather than bandwidth efficiency, just so you understand that. We're resolution agnostic. Whatever you give us, we're going to send. We make it really, really easy. You have to understand that a typical 1080 IP stream is going to utilize 20 megabits of information. So you're going to have to do the math, and Rob will talk a little bit more about that, and Melanie when they do their part. So IP is suited for bulk distribution of high quality IP and, in our case, RF video distribution. The IP infrastructure needs to be tailored to handle the bandwidth. This is important. And by the way, I have a great white paper that our engineers wrote that talks about this. If you want a copy of that, just send me an email at roy@zeevee.com, and I'll get that right out to you. And it talks about where and how you use this IP product. It's really helpful. Captive wired fully IMGP, that's Internet Group Management Protocol, Ethernet switch. This is a captive system. It lives on your Ethernet. And again, I'll let Rob talk more about that in a minute. There are some considerations when you're deploying this system. Once again, you need to be very considerate about your bandwidth requirements. What do you have for bandwidth? How many channels can you send over that system that you have? You need IGMP-enabled switches. And then you need something at the end of the wire. Now, PCs and laptops with easily downloadable VLC players can handle our system, or set-top boxes. Melanie will talk about VLC players, and Rob will talk about set-top boxes, because once you've got the system streaming, you have to receive it with something. There's an impact on latency. The encoder adds in latency. The network is going to have a certain amount of latency, and the endpoints are going to influence your latency. So it's something else you have to consider. Just be aware that there is a certain amount of latency, unlike our Zyper product, where there is no measurable latency. On an IP-type system like this, there is some latency. It's just something to consider. I really love this slide because it really shows what you can do with ZeeVee using both coax, RF output, and IP. As you can see here, we have a couple of satellite receivers. They're going into a 2-channel ZeeVee Pro 620 using component input. And we also have a ZeeVee Pro 820, which is using 2 digital signage players through unencrypted HDMI. The output of the 2 ZeeVee modulators is combined through a combiner, and that goes to any number of TVs, any length of wire. The IP side goes through simple CAT cable into a 1 gigabyte switch and to set-top boxes out to panels, projectors, whatever you're using as your source. So this is a great visual as far as what can be accomplished using both RF and IP on the same network. By the way, I know we told you there wasn't going to be a test. It really isn't a test, but we are going to do poll questions. We have 3 poll questions we're going to do throughout the webinar. So we're looking for your input, some help, which will help our marketing department and our engineering department on where we need to be with these products. So first of all, I am going to open up the polls. And if you could take a couple of seconds to answer, how much IP experience does your company have? A lot. We program IGMP switches in our sleep, just enough to be dangerous, or very little. I'll give you a couple of minutes to just click one of those boxes, and we'll get back to our webinar. Boy, this is a real responsive group, isn't it? Thank you very much for that. We can see on our little panel here how many people are voting. And we're up to, what, 82%, 84% of voting, so that's awesome. Thank you. We really appreciate the participation. Okay, I'm going to close this poll, and we're just going to continue on with the webinar. So where is IPTV catching on? Where is it being used? Where's the opportunities, I like to say? First opportunity is broadcast. Television stations are looking for a way to send HD to all of the monitors in the studio. We just closed a huge, or I should say one of our dealers just closed a huge deal out on the West Coast where one of the major television stations bought a whole bunch of ZeeVee 2920s. 2920s output, they're an SDI input, and it outputs both digital QAM and IP. And they're redoing all of the TV studios with these products. So broadcast is a huge opportunity. Another opportunity is corporate. A boardroom, a whole factory, an office building, whatever. They already have the infrastructure there. IP is a perfect use. Healthcare, hospitals, doctors' offices, medical labs, etc. Great opportunity. Government, certainly in government. They're using many new buildings that the government's built in the last few years are all wired with cat-type cable. It's just a perfect opportunity to send video throughout their facilities. Stadiums and arenas, of course, they want high-quality video in the luxury boxes, out by the beer stand, out in the hallways, wherever. And this type of technology can be used there. And lastly, a combination of our RF technology and our IP technology, you can cover all of these opportunities, from academic to prisons to RV parks and campgrounds to multiple dwelling units, on and on. So what are the benefits? Well, it future-proofs your installation. If you've already got, well, in many cases, you might have coax and cat cable run. You're future-proofed. Our system has a local EAS, emergency alert system. This is a great opportunity for schools, hospitals, assisted living facilities. The headmaster or the principal or whoever can send a message to everybody in the facility that's watching a TV or a panel. And, you know, maybe bad weather coming or bad guy on campus or whatever it might be. ZeeVee has what we call a ZeeVee EAS. And again, if you need more information on this, I have a paper written all about EAS, and just send me an email, roy@zeevee.com, and I'll get that right out to you also. Deliver video content to any display or PC. This will help you preserve your internet bandwidth. Maybe folks in the facility were using the internet to access certain types of information, which now can just be streamed on the system in place. And one platform is delivering both RF and IP video. It just makes it so easy to implement. And all of this will give a higher level of personal efficiency throughout the facility. Pretty simple, pretty obvious. So what was the poll response? Yeah, there you go. So a lot. We program switches in our sleep, 26%. Just enough to be dangerous, 45%, very little, 29%. By the way, we did this webinar this morning at 9 o'clock. This is almost identical to what we saw this morning. So it just goes to show us that we're not alone, folks, that need more education and more information on what and how with IP video distribution. And ZeeVee, along with our distributors, are going to be there to help you. And now I'm going to introduce Melanie. And Melanie, I'm going to give you the screen so that you can do your thing. And there you go.
Thanks,
Melanie
Roy.
Rogers Melanie's the manager of technical support group. Many of you might have already talked to Melanie. She's been around here since the beginning of ZeeVee, and she's a great asset. So Melanie, take it away.
Thanks, Roy. Beginning of time, I think, is what you meant to say as far as how long I've been around here. I want to first off say I apologize for my voice. I've got a bit of a frog in it. I'm getting over a cold, so please bear with me on that front. But as Roy said, we're going to walk through just the configuration of the IP piece within the Maestro tool. If you're familiar with Maestro, when you log in, there are a number of tabs across the top that allow for configuration. And what we've done is added a new tab specific for IP configuration or IP broadcast configuration called the IP channel plan tab. And that's what I have here. The look and feel is going to be very similar to the other tabs in the other setup within Maestro. You're going to notice over here there's a line for each port. So port 1 and port 2. By default, the channels are disabled, so we won't actually be broadcasting or sending out any kind of IP streams by default. You do have to specifically enable them. The next field is an IP address, and you can enter either a multicast address, which is what I have here as an example, or a unicast address. And the multicast basically is a range of addresses that are going to be just sent out on that address, and any computer that are on the network that has an application or a set-top box that's on the network that has the ability to log onto these streams can then sort of request access to it and can lock onto it and then start viewing that video. A unicast address, which is the next screen that I'll show you, is a little bit different. That's going to be an IP address that's a specific computer or a specific endpoint on the network. And that is going to be the only endpoint that will have access to that particular video. So here with the multicast address, we're entering the multicast address. It's going to be specific for each channel will have its own IP address it's broadcasting on, or multicast address it's broadcasting on. Next column is the IP port, and the port is going to say which port that information is being sent out on. There are specific ports that are already dedicated. If you're familiar with networking, you probably know what those are. If you're not, if you're sort of on that learning curve that it showed in that last poll some folks are on, if you click on the IP channel help up here, it will actually give you some suggestions on which ports to avoid or to stay above certain port levels to ensure that you're not interfering with existing ports or already dedicated ports. Once you've entered your information and enabled it and click apply, we will start sending out the information on the specified IP address that's been entered. Oh, sorry, thought I heard a question there. So again, as soon as you hit apply, that information will start flowing. One thing that we get a question about on this on the support line is asking about the IP address that's assigned for configuration via Maestro versus the information that's entered on the IP channel plan. And those do not have to have any relation. You can use what's typically called a link local address and connect to the unit directly for configuration purposes, set up the IP address here, your multicast address, and then connect it into your local area network, your LAN, and it's going to start sending. So there's no necessarily correlation between the configuration IP address versus the multicast or unicast IP address. If we take a look at the second slide I have here, this is a unicast address. So the IP address is actually specifically the IP address from my computer. My laptop would be the only one on the network that would be able to access the MPEG-2 stream that's coming out over that IP address. The port is also specified so we know which port. Now once again, this is configured and applied. A way we do a quick test on the support line to ensure that things are flowing and it's set up correctly is you can use a standard media player like VLC. This is a freeware player that's available. You can download it from the internet. Click on Media, Open Network Stream, and you'll be prompted to enter the network URL where that video stream is. The first one I have here is showing the multicast example. So I wanted to point this out. There's a little bit of confusion sometimes because these URLs are a little different than what you would expect. So that UDP : / the @ the multicast address that's been specified within Maestro, : the port that's been specified in Maestro. And again, if you're using multicast, you can open VLC on any computer on the network, enter this, and they'll be able to subscribe to that MPEG-2 stream. For Unicast, it's a little bit different. You can see below here the IP address isn't specified because it's a single IP address, so I can only set this up on the computer running that or using that IP address, and you just need to specify which port it should be looking at. Once you enter that and click OK, the video will just start playing. So this isn't necessarily something you would use for all setups where you want to view the video, but it's a great test option. And I believe that those are the only slides I have, so I'm going to hand it back to you, Roy.
All right, thanks, Melanie. That's great. Hang around. We got some questions for you that we'll ask towards the end. But that was awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to do another poll right here. Okay, poll number 2. How important to your company's future is being capable of deploying video over IP? Very important, somewhat important, not important at all. So if you could help us with this, that would be great. I'll give you a couple of minutes. I would sing, but you don't want to hear that. All right, looks like we got everybody. We got a couple more voting. We're going to let them vote. Okay, I'm going to close out this poll, and we're going to move along. And we're going to introduce Mr. Rob Nazisi. He is a sales manager at AMT, Advanced Media Technologies. And Rob, I'm going to give you the control, and you can take it from here. Here you go, Rob. It's all yours.
Thank you, Roy. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Amino set-top box. This is an optional device that can be used as a decoder to pull the streams back off of the network. Once they're encoded with your ZeeVee encoder, you can use an Amino box for any location where you don't want to view the video on an actual computer. This can go near a TV and decode the video and provide an output to a standard television. As Amino 101 here, let me just give you the 2 major part numbers that you're going to want to consider. The A140 is the standard set-top type configuration. So these are deployed quite widely in residential areas. Rural telephone companies deploy tens of thousands of these to provide IP video to their customers. So this is a device that's just meant to sit on top of a TV or on a credenza, and the Ethernet input there, you can see there's your RJ45 connector, and you can feed your television either with an HDMI cable, or on the far left there's a proprietary DIN connector. The cable is provided with the set-top box, and the cable is a breakout cable that will allow you to connect either composite or component into the TV. There's also an optional channel 3 output there as well, but today most people aren't going to be using that because it only provides standard definition. The second model I want to talk about is the hospitality box, the H150. The internals to this are basically the same as the A140, but it has a hardened case. So this is very good for institutional type installations where you're concerned about security, like a dorm room or any kind of a public area. You can use security screws and tie this thing down so it can't be moved or damaged. The other thing that this provides as well is a pass-through from your TV, so you can use one remote. You can use either the Amino remote or the TV's remote. The one component of an IPTV system that we haven't touched on yet is middleware. And I'm going to talk about 3 different options as far as middleware when you deploy an IPTV package. The Amino box, what's nice about it and what a lot of people like about it in the enterprise space is it comes with an Opera browser. The Opera browser allows you to use the set-top box almost like a web page. It gives you a URL where you can type in an IP address and simply decode it and view the video. If you go a step beyond that, the next step up would be a server that sits on the system and allows you to control the set-tops and push new channel maps out to the set-tops and provide an EPG or an electronic program guide. That would allow you to select the channels right on the screen using your remote and move up and down and select the channels. The third level, which is quite extensive and can be it's required in a lot of places, but it can be quite costly, is a complete middleware package where you're providing electronic program guide, links to video on demand, videos that may be playing about amenities in a hotel, digital signage, ability to order food and products through there. So that would be a complete middleware package. But what's nice about the Opera is it's going to allow you to change the channels much like you do today with a standard QAM lineup that you're familiar with from ZeeVee. So let's go to the next slide. Just to give everybody a comfort level here about the Amino box. A lot of people like to use these devices for testing. When you get your ZeeVee encoder, you want to put this through just a simple Ethernet switch and prove that it's decoding video. It's very easy to do with an Amino box. Just going to go through some steps here of what you're going to do to set it up. The Alt-M key will get you into the primary menu, and the password leaves will get you past that screen and allow you access to the next level of menus. Okay, so the settings in there are going to be locked. So again, you need to type in another password, and the password is snake. Snake will get you in and able to change the settings. If you're using the set-top box on your desktop and you're not going through a full IP network, you're just using a local switch, one of the things you're going to want to do is to disable the DHCP in the set-top box and assign it a static IP. That will allow you to talk to the box, and if you don't have a DHCP server on the network, you'll need to do that. So the next thing I want to talk about is the channel manager. This will allow you to set up the channels. For example, let's say you had a head end with 10 ZeeVee encoders. Each one is going to be streaming out on its own independent IP address, multicasting that out to the entire network. So what this channel manager allows you to do in the ZeeVee is to set up channel numbers associated with each IP address that's coming out of your head end. So you can see there on the right, you'll be able to type in the IP address for each channel, starting with channel 1, and then the slot on the right allows you to put a description in for that channel. So you could put the name of the channel in there. It could be your entertainment channel, it can be ABC, it can be CNN, whatever you decide to name the channel. And then you'll be able to use the remote and channel up and channel down to go through your lineup, or type in a channel and go directly to a specific channel. And that's the end of my presentation.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Rob. That was great. Let's see what the results were for this poll. How important to your company's future is being capable of deploying video over IP? Very important. Somewhat important, not important. Yep, that's exactly what we thought. This is the future. And it is going to be important to all of our customers to be able to deploy IP video. So that's great. This will help my marketing department immensely. All right, let's move right along here. And we have poll question number 3, and I promise this is the last one. Oop, I need to go back, right? Poll question number 3. And let's see what that's all about. Who do you see as early adopters in deploying IP video? The government, military, education, higher education, stadiums, corporate offices, or healthcare? And again, your responses will help us. We need to get the word out. We need to advertise and to promote our product along with IP video in general. And this will help us do that. So if you could just click on one of them where you think the early adopters are going to be living. All right, close that poll out, and let's just move along. So anyways, we're at the end here. A couple of points. This webinar is being recorded. It'll be posted at ZeeVee.com by the end of the week. So if you have some folks in your organization that couldn't make it, the other opportunity you have is tomorrow at 3 o'clock. We are going to do this webinar again. So if folks need to join us, you can have them just join in tomorrow. We'll be sending the results of the poll question number 3 along with links to download the IC specification sheets, the applications notes, and whatnot. If you need it sooner than that, again, just send me an email, roy@zeevee.com, and I'll get it out to you even sooner. Upcoming webinars, Zyper 4K. I said that we'd be telling you about our webinars that are coming up in the coming weeks about our new Zyper product. That's something you really might want to get involved in. This is revolutionary, and it's a pretty neat product. 12 Days of ZeeVee. On December 7th, we're going to start our 12 Days of ZeeVee, and we've been doing this for a couple of years where you just go and log in, and every day we draw a name, and we send you a really cool gift. Doesn't cost you anything to get involved. You should register for this because it's a lot of fun, and that'll be going out to you, and you'll be getting information on this shortly. And here's the folks that you can talk to if you have more questions. In the United States here, you've got Sally. She handles the East Coast. Sally's been with us for a number of years. She knows an awful lot about digital signage, about RF, about IP. She's a great resource. I handle the central region in Texas. We've got Paul out there on the West Coast, keeping fort, works out of our Denver office. And if you can't get in touch with one of us because we're traveling or we're doing some training or something, we got George. George is a great resource here at ZeeVee, and he can answer just about anything, and if he can't, he can find someone that can. So use George. He's our inside guy. And if you're over in jolly old England or Europe or Russia or Middle East or South Africa, you've got Rob Mutterman. Rob is the sales director. He works out of our London office. Chris Scudo, who's also Vice President of North American Sales, handles Canada. And last but by no means least is our fantastic technical support team. A week doesn't go by where I don't get an email or a phone call about how fantastic our tech support people are. We've expanded that department. We've added more people. We've extended the hours for folks on the West Coast. So if you've got a problem, please give us a call. They usually can handle it right over the phone. It's great. It's a great resource. And how about this? Christine here in our marketing department put this on just before. All you got to do is take your phone and just grab it, and it's going to allow you to send me an email immediately. You don't even have to remember my email address. Amazing technology. I'll leave that up for a few minutes. And I just want to say thank you for joining us, and we've got some questions. So let's see what these questions are all about. Question, Brad, will the HD Bridge 2840 and the 2640 units have an upgrade available in the future to enable IP encoding on them? They won't have an upgrade. Obviously, IP is going to find its way throughout the whole product line and in future product. there is not an upgrade available. This is not a firmware type thing. It's actually there's actually hardware involved. So stay tuned, and we will have a lot more IP product in the future. Let's see what Rick had as a question. As a manufacturer's rep, how much programming knowledge is really required? Well, you know, we're always here to help. The distributors are here to help. We can help with all of that. But like anything, the more you know about a product, the better you're going to be able to sell it and to service your customers. There's just no question about it. Programming is really pretty simple. If you have the opportunity to get a piece of ZeeVee and log into Maestro, you're going to be surprised how easy it is to work your way through the programming of this product. But again, we're here to help, and our technical support team, or Sally, Paul, myself, Chris, any of our distributors, Rob, we're all here to help. Is this limited to SD? Barry, I think you mean standard definition television. No, it's HD. It's the whole gamut. Whatever you give us, we're going to send. So if that was your question, and if not, Barry, just send me an email. Let me know what that question was all about. But if that was the question, no, it's everything. Whatever you input, we're going to output. And let's see, unencrypted HDMI. Yes, I get this question a lot. If you're using our products with HDMI input, it is unencrypted HDMI, which means that Blu-ray players, satellite receivers, etc., are not going to work through the product because they have HDCP content protection. But digital signage players, PC media servers, any locally authored content certainly would work. Let's see, another question. Are any firmware updates pushed to set-top boxes or manually managed? Rob, this might be one for you. How do firmware updates, or how are they handled on the set-top boxes, Rob?
With the Opera browser, the first scenario that I talked about, each box would have to be updated by itself if you wanted to upgrade the firmware. The other two, where you actually have a server on the network, that allows you to push those updates to the set-tops. But usually once you have a firmware version that's operational, there's not really a need to update it. And these two boxes have been around for many, many years, so the firmware on them is very mature.
So I guess the answer is yes and yes. So if you're using the simpler version, you're going to have to manually manage them. But if you're using a switch, then you can push it to all of them. That's great. Melanie, how much bandwidth will 1080p broadcast signal take up?
A typical 1080 broadcast will use about 20 megabits. We average at 18, but for 1080, you should plan for 20.
There you go. So James, that answers your question. And I think that does it. Again, if anybody has any questions, send them to me, and I will get them to the appropriate people and get answers for you immediately. I'm going to be here for another couple hours today, so if this is timely and you need answers right now, send them along to my email, or you can just click right there on the screen and capture that, and that'll send it right to my email. But anyways, roy@zeevee.com. So once again, thank you very much for spending a few minutes with us today, and we appreciate it. Thank you.